Governor Evers toured an Oregon childcare facility this morning in hopes of reaching Republican lawmakers. The visit comes 1 month after the governor called the state legislature into a special session, introducing a plan to address the state's workforce challenges, including childcare. Evers visited Tresnos Child Care Center, a bilingual daycare where kids learn both Spanish and English. The owner says she and her husband started an at-home child care center several years ago.
The home daycare we saw is a big need for the community. We were to think about maybe next step, so with my husband, and the next step was here. That's awesome. So we passed from 8 kids to 50 kids.
And today, the governor stood alongside Representative Jenna Jacobson, highlighting the benefits of high-quality child care. The governor added he thinks state Republicans should take tours of area child care facilities.
I think if legislators saw the work that is being done here, they'd understand that it's not babysitting, it's actually learning, and the more learning that can happen early, the better we are in the K through 12 world. And I think they would feel differently about, the Republicans would feel differently about that.
The governor adds he will continue working hard to ensure there's funding for early childhood, adding failing in that effort means we are failing our kids.